Possibly one of, if not the most exciting signing we have seen under the takeover of Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, and one signing that I think makes a real statement not only to Wrexham fans but to general Championship fans on the whole, to show Wrexham are going all out for it this season in the Championship. Today we have confirmed the signing of 21-year-old left-footed centre-back Callum Doyle, who signs on a long-term contract from 8-time Premier League winners Manchester City. A big signing, fighting off competition from Glasgow Rangers up in Scotland, Sheffield United here, obviously a fellow Championship side. This is one that we should be rightly excited about, and one that could prove to be a really good bit of business as time goes on. So before we get going into today's video, we're back of course with the transfer videos. This is the 10th official signing Wrexham have made in the summer transfer window, probably the most we've made under the takeover. Maybe the first season might have pipped it, but we've made a lot of signings. There's plenty of content coming your way of course between now until the rest of the transfer window. So if you're looking for the best Wrexham content, it is coming your way. Make sure to get down there and click the subscribe button. But on the road to 29,000 subscribers, let's go for 600 likes for the signing of Callum Doyle, and let's get reviewing our latest recruit. So talking first on Callum Doyle, we're going to be giving a bit of a profile on him as a footballer and his journey up until now signing for Wrexham in 2025. Doyle joined Manchester City's academy in 2014 after being at Manchester United and Liverpool's academy at a very young age, and ever since signing for Manchester City 11 years ago, he's just continued to impress as he's gone up the age groups. Despite his successful time going through the academy ranks at Manchester City, he's never actually made a professional first team appearance for the Citizens, but Doyle has gained some really valuable experience along the way, travelling out to America in 2024 with the first team squad for their pre-season friendlies, and he also did make an appearance there under Pep Guardiola and the Manchester City first team against Glasgow Celtic. You know, that's probably quite surprising to a lot of you at home because he's so highly regarded by of course the teams he's been at in the past in the Championship, and you thought with his obviously good records at the previous teams he's been at, he might have got that chance in the first team, maybe on the bench, but he's had a lot of training sessions in and around the first team with, you know, some of the best players not only in the Premier League but in the world. So that experience on its own I think is really valuable for him. And obviously with him being in the Manchester City squad, he's still 21 years old, so he would have probably been training at the age of around 19, 20. It was going to be very hard for him to obviously come into the first team without having real, you know, first team football elsewhere, which is why for his development's sake he spent time on loan at the likes of Sunderland in League One. We saw him at Leicester City, we saw him at Coventry, and most recently at Norwich City. So he's mostly been based in the Championship when he has gone out on loan to those sides. And at 21 years old, this is really impressive. He has made 101 Championship appearances for teams that have finished 1st Leicester City, 6th Coventry City and 13th Norwich City. I think that in itself is a very promising sign for not only him as a footballer but for how quickly he's developed and become a key player at each of those clubs. And I think if you ask the fans of those clubs about Callum Doyle as a player, they'll all say they'll have wanted him on a permanent deal. So I think this is a really good bit of business. And you know, I keep quoting it, a newly promoted side from League One, but genuinely getting a player of his quality and his experience in this league when there's big teams after him, big historical teams that are playing in Europe, Glasgow Rangers, Sheffield United, who will have those ambitions to get back to the Premier League, beating off those competition, I think again is a real statement from us. And you're looking at last season in yellow and green for Norwich City, from centre back and left back he registered 7 assists and 1 goal. And having looked at his, you know, style of play and the assists he's got, he loves those balls over the top. You know, when he was playing at left back, his quality into the final third and into the box for the strikers was really good. So I think we've got a gem on our cards here. I think as well, just talking on him as a player, finding a player of Callum Doyle's quality and experience, like I've just said, at such a young age, and especially for a deal that is likely to be around probably a set fee, maybe of around £6.5–7 million to start with. Of course, it's a deal that is going to rise to £8 million with add-ons. I think it's a really good bit of business. Of course, we saw a couple of weeks ago Manchester City quoted that Callum Doyle is going to be available for around £10 million, but Wrexham seems to have got that lower deal across the line for Callum Doyle, which I think, again, I keep saying it so many times and I will do over the course of the videos I produce, it is an excellent piece of business, and I think one that I think is exciting me most from this transfer window. We've made some really good signings, but getting a player that spent time in the Manchester City academy, he's got that experience, he's got the quality evidently, playing for the likes of Coventry, Norwich and Leicester, I think is really good. And beating, like I said, Rangers and Sheffield United to get his signature too is a real statement. This is of course a signing that I think will have been in the pipeline for the past couple of weeks, and one that's been worked on for a very long time, because it wasn't going to be easy. It's not a straightforward signing like we used to have in the National League or possibly it's in League Two. this is a signing that will have a lot of hard work gone behind the scenes, so well done to everyone that has worked on the transfer to help get Callum Doyle in a Wrexham shirt. And I can't really imagine the conversations happening between Pep Guardiola and Phil Parkinson, but here we are, Callum Doyle is a Wrexham player. This is probably the part, of course, you all want to see. What can we expect from Callum Doyle in a Wrexham shirt? And I think we've seen on social media over the past couple of weeks from the start of the season, a lot of fans have been crying out for another centre-back, especially on that left side with Lewis Brunt. Of course, he had a good performance against Southampton, but a lot of fans are kind of questioning his development possibly across the season, and is he going to become that left centre-back that we need to make us, competitive in this division this year? And they're obviously crying out for that new centre-back on that left side, and Callum Doyle is going to fit the void of those fans that want a new centre-back in really, really well. He's left-footed, he can play that killer ball into the midfield or through the final third, like we've seen when he was playing at left-back for Norwich City. And I think if you're looking at a player like Callum Doyle's experience, you don't really have to go into too much detail, and I don't think it really is a question as to whether Callum Doyle will be in the starting 11 or not. I think given his experience, 100 plus appearances at this level, 21 years old, he'll be a bright, exciting player, good on the ball. He's going to fit really nicely alongside Conor Cody and Max Cleworth. I don't think at all that Callum Doyle is going to be benched for the majority of the season. I think he comes in and becomes our left centre-back from game week, possibly 3, down to 46. As well, Callum Doyle in Manchester City's academy did actually start off as a central midfielder in the early days. So I think, spending over 10 years at Manchester City in the academy, playing with some really good players in a demanding and sort of expectation environment at Manchester City, he's going to be very good on the ball, and I'm sure he'll be so composed, a good pass of the ball, and like I said, it'll just be, that composure that we need in a level where most of the players in the team might not have played before, and there's a lot of players in the squad in the whole, maybe not the first 11, but in the squad in general. We're going to need those players that have that experience and have that good composure and quality on the ball, because we're going to come under some really hard games this season, as we've seen against West Brom and Southampton, and we're going to obviously face a lot of challenges as the season goes on. I think Conor Cody as well, for his experience and his leadership across the back line, but likewise with Callum Doyle, who will be so good on the ball. I think there'll be qualities and attributes that we'll see very early on in Callum Doyle's stay at Wrexham Football Club. He's obviously going to be a really good player, inject youth into that centre-back role. We'll have Max Cleworth on the right centre-back, and obviously Callum Doyle on the left centre-back role. So 2 really young defenders, and 2 defenders that, if you're looking at this, are destined to go up and up and up as their career goes on. With him obviously spending time in the Manchester City Academy and in and around the first team on a multiple different occasions, his passing is going to be another key attribute to his game. And whether it's that clever pass into the midfield for George Dobson, Matty James, or possibly the central attacker midfielder, the long ball up top to Kiefer Moore to get the flick-ons, or the diagonal switch to the wing-backs, whether it's Libby Kakachi, Ryan Barnett, Ryan Longman, James McLean, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of those balls be played often, because his passing attribute is one that I think Phil Parkinson is going to maximise and understand this early on, of course, with the signing getting across the line. And I was also looking at some of his games last season for Norwich. If we can get the strikers, like I said, whether it be Sam Smith, Hardy, possibly those strikers that are going to have that engine up front, that are going to do the constant running, if we can get them to make those clever runs in the blind side of the defender, I think Callum Doyle is going to provide that A-star service, those balls down the line, those balls sort of in behind the defence for the strikers to run onto. We've seen that multiple occasions in the Norwich City shirt for him last season. So bringing together Ryan Hardy's attributes, like I said, he chases every lost cause. He likes to make that run in the blind side of the defence. Could this be a partnership that could work between possibly Callum Doyle playing those balls over the top and whoever that second striker is? I think that's something we'll need to obviously note, and something we'll see very often for Callum Doyle when he's in the starting 11. And also as well, he's going to bring good vision and hopefully dictating the tempo of the defence, and obviously dictating the tempo of the play further up as well with his slick balls into the midfield to obviously get those attacks going and just get the play sort of more dynamic for us. Looking at his defensive statistics, he's very solid at the back. He's a strong competitor, loves a tackle. If we're looking at his 24-25 stats last season, 33 tackles won, 56 interceptions, 155 ball recoveries, and 150 duels won in general. He's a very competitive player, like I said, and I think he'll be a very good anticipator of the ball. He'll know when to go in for the tackle. He'll know where to be in the right time. His positioning will be really, really good. And I think his reading of the game as well is something that we're going to appreciate as time goes on for Callum Doyle. And I think he must have something about him clearly. If the reaction of other fans from the Coventry, Leicester, Sheffield United, Glasgow Rangers fans are all disappointed that he's not coming to them, I think that does say a lot about Callum Doyle as a player, and it just does say a lot about the player we've got on our cards, and especially for the good price we paid for him. Yeah, and as well, I think there's no hiding the fact that Callum Doyle is going to become one of our key players as time goes on. If he's going to be a key player for Coventry City, who got into the playoffs, Norwich City, who got into that mid-table finish, he's going to be a key player for Wrexham. We've had sort of a shaky start to the season, but adding him to the back line alongside two really good defenders, one championship proven, but one obviously not in Max Cleworth, but one that is destined to go to the very top. I think this solid back three that we're going to have this season is going to form a really good partnership, and hopefully we can get the goals conceded down. I think as well, if we're looking at this signing not only for Callum Doyle in a Wrexham shirt, but possibly future years, I think it's a very strategical signing due to the fact it's a deal worth up to £8 million. For a 21-year-old, I keep saying it, I know, but for a 21-year-old who has played so many games in the Championship and, you know, is sort of on borderline that Premier League move, or probably could have got that Premier League move if he'd have gone out on loan again this season from Manchester City. But if we can get him to have one or two good seasons in a Wrexham shirt, if we're looking to sell on in the future, which I do think we're going to have to do eventually, we could easily get that number to double to around 16 to 19 million pounds. Don't get me wrong, we want to keep our best players, we want to keep them for, you know, 4 or 5 years like Max Cleworth, but if we're going to get that bid in for a player that's possibly going to be around the 16, 17, 18 million pound mark, it's going to be hard to reject, especially when that fee could be invested into the squad for possibly 3 or 4 new players. But of course we want to keep him for now. That's getting way too ahead of myself. But if he is to have 2 or 3 good seasons in a Wrexham shirt, he won't be short of interest from other clubs higher up, and I think it would be regarded as a really good signing if we look back on this in at least 2 to 3 seasons time. So yeah, that is it for today's video. Callum Doyle has signed for Wrexham on a long-term contract. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm sure a lot of you will be very, very happy about this signing. I am. It's a signing that when I first heard of the rumours, I thought it's too good to be true. We're going to get beaten off by higher competition, but we've got it across the line. It's a real statement from Phil Parkinson, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. I'd love to know what the phone call was like with Callum Doyle. But yeah, make sure to subscribe, like, do all that good stuff, and we could possibly be seeing another Welsh international be added to the squad in Jordan James, a player I've really, really liked. I've known from, of course, from his time at Birmingham City. He made the move to Stade Rennes over in France, but he's likely to leave, and Wrexham are rumoured to make a £4.5 million bid for him. If we get him in alongside Callum Doyle, that is a really, really good transfer window from Wrexham. So like I said, subscribe, like, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another video. Take care, guys. Up the Championship Reds.